Let's do a little segment called Do These Guys Suck? And I'm going to start with the Giants. Obviously, this season has been an utter disaster. It has not gone well, and they're getting made fun of constantly for the contract that they gave Daniel Jones, and rightfully so. Because a year ago, they didn't pick up the guy's fifth-year option. 2 years later, he's making $40+ million, and their team feels like they're headed nowhere and nowhere fast. Here's the problem. They're 1-3. They have not played well at all. And now they're playing the Miami Dolphins in Miami. They're coming off a loss. So the one thing, the Dolphins, how are the Giants going to score? And all of a sudden you're 1-4. The negativity builds. You saw this week, one of their players is calling fans burger flippers and hot dog flippers. You actually don't flip a hot dog. You roll it. You obviously flip a burger, but you roll a hot dog, as someone who's eaten a lot of hot dogs and made a few in my day. But the Giants are in major trouble. And I would lean, and I thought they were going to be good. I was dead wrong. I didn't necessarily believe in Daniel Jones, but I thought he'd kind of be like an Alex Smith where he'd keep getting incrementally better. He's obviously getting worse. Their offensive line's in shambles. Saquon's banged up. The Giants could be headed toward a 4 or 5 win season if they keep getting rolled. Another team that I believed in. I've completely changed my tune. A lot like the Giants. I don't think the Steelers are any good. Now, this is a rivalry week. You're playing Baltimore. Lamar's humming. Tomlin's fantastic as an underdog. But you lose this game, all of a sudden, you have a 2-game swing basically with the Ravens because they only have 1 loss. You got 2. You lose this game. You got 3. They got 1. And they've beat you at your place. Not only are you in shambles, but you might just be headed toward the first time of, is this when Tomlin actually doesn't go above 500? Because if they look lifeless, they obviously got some quarterback issues right now. Pickett's not playing that well. Then he got injured. I saw a quote, I think yesterday, that he said, I'll be there. Do you really want a compromised Kenny Pickett? But I definitely don't want Mitch Trubisky. If Kenny Pickett's bad/injured, the Steelers are fucked. They just are, because you're not winning any games with Mitch Trubisky. So this is kind of a survival game for the Steelers. And last but not least, the Bengals. Now, obviously, their quarterback is not only compromised, physically, his calf's off, but he hasn't played well on top of that, and their whole team's off. I don't think Arizona is the best team to play when shit is just not going well. Because the one thing the Cardinals do is they play their ass off. And when you're trying to figure things out, when you guys got guys injured, and you got a wide receiver who's complaining, saying he's always open, this type game, all of a sudden you look up. This happened to the Cowboys, and they didn't even have internal issues. You're down 17-10. And then that pressure starts to build. So, obviously the Giants are in major trouble against Miami. The Steelers, it's a rivalry game, but you just better win it. I think the Cincy at Arizona game is a lot more intriguing than anyone would have thought week 1. That's a throwaway game. Who's watching that thing? I'm keeping an eye on this because I could see Cincinnati blowing this thing from a mile away. And last but not least, one guy that I've been very critical of just over the years in college football was Steve Sarkisian. And I was listening to our guys, Snaps, T-Bob, and Aaron Murray, and T-Bob's a hater too. And again, this isn't nothing personal. I've never even met Sark. It was always simply he got these incredible jobs, and he recruited his ass off, and he couldn't win 9 games. His record was like 7-5 and 8-5 all the time. It's like this guy is coaching NFL players left and right, loaded with talent, and just didn't win. So I was just like, I don't get it. And then he gets the Texas job. Yeah, some guys are really good coordinators, and you put them in a big spot, they just lose. Well, this season has gone pretty well for him. And I've said this before, but I talked to a buddy during training camp, a couple guys that had went through there from a scouting perspective. They're like, this team's stacked, man. This team is loaded. I'm like, I still don't trust him. I don't give a shit if he has the best roster in college football. I think he's more likely to go 10-2 than win the national championship. Well, he's playing Oklahoma. They're both 5-0. Obviously, Texas is a better version than this Oklahoma team. He wins this game. Texas probably going to the playoffs. I mean, they would be on easy street to you look up, and Sark in Texas is going to be right there. So I got a pretty good chance to be pretty wrong on this. I never would have picked him to be a playoff team at the beginning of the season. I don't care how much talent. Clearly, the quarterback's playing well. Defensively, they look really good. But, Sark's a guy that listen, I've never bet on him as a coach, but everyone I know that knows him loves him. Like, swear by the guy. You talk to some people about Lane, depends who you talk to with the information you get about Lane Kiffin. When you talk to people about Sark, they really, really like him. Like, high character guy, obviously went through some substance issues, which, he kind of pushes back on. Listen, heard different things, whatever at USC. We all go through problems, but as a coach, I just never bought it. There was a little like Lincoln Riley. There was like a soft nature to him. Not that he knew what to look for, probably even more than Lincoln in players, but his teams, it was always something missing. Well, so far this year, his teams looked excellent. I was watching a couple of weeks ago, they're playing Kansas. I'm like, this Kansas, they got a big-time coach. This guy's going to get a big-time job after this year, and the game was close. Then all of a sudden, I left to run some errands. I look back, it was like 40-10, the final score, 40-14. So maybe this is the year Sark goes to the playoffs. Hell, why couldn't he win the national championship?